Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday webinar with Katie. I am from olalschools.com. A very warm welcome to our new viewers. I have Kerry from OptimumSA with us. Welcome, Kerry. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. Just hang on, I want to switch everything off that uses internet because I just got a message that says it's unstable. So if I disappear, I apologize for the technical issues, but I'm good. How are you, Katie?
I'm very well, thanks. It's quite cold, but I'm good. So today, we are going to touch tabs on the requirements that we need to meet with the DBE of home education. So just refresh quickly with our parents and students that they have to register with the Department of Education when they do home education, and they can find it on their website, the Department of Education's website. So let's touch base. I'm going to share screen and we're going to discuss this and make it a little bit more understanding for everybody. Okay.
Yes, so two weeks ago, we discussed how to register with Department of Education. And on the forms, it refers to the home education policy. So that's one of the things that we're going to touch on today. So let's go for it. Are you ready, Katie?
I'm ready. So I found this actually amazing little quote. Don't just teach your child the curriculum, teach the child. I found that was very interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so what do we need to do to meet the requirements? So like you mentioned, we have discussed previously that they have to register with the Department of Education. Now let's talk a little bit about how do we go about choosing a curriculum.
Well, the very first thing is on the home education policy, it states that it needs to be the same standard as what the schools are covering in the rest of the country. And all our parents know by now they should, especially with home education being getting so much more exposure these past 2 years with COVID, that it is a CAPS curriculum. So I'm sure many people can recall that I've informed parents that you can either go, I call it the Google curriculum, where you make sure you've downloaded the CAPS documents so that you can see exactly what subjects for what grade needs to be covered. And then you go and choose the books that you want. Now, ideally, it would be the books that has the lovely word CAPS on it, because then you know it's already aligned with the CAPS documents that you've downloaded from the exact same website where you go and download the Department of Education forms. So all the schools, the government schools, not necessarily the private schools or the semi-private schools, but most of them anyway, especially if they're offering the National Senior Certificate, all of them follow the CAPS curriculum. So when you choose a curriculum, you choose a curriculum that is CAPS based. All right. So be it a box curriculum like OptimumSA, they call it a box because it comes in a box with everything that you need, very basic there, or you go and do the hard work yourself and do the research and choose the books and whatever have you, as long as you follow the CAPS instructions.
And then obviously with that comes with the requirements that is needed for them to receive with reports and assessments.
Yes, that's correct. So if you're going to go the curriculum route, the box curriculum, you get the tests and the exams and you get the reports like you would use with all the other curriculum providers. But if you're going to go your own route and do it yourself, you're going to have to be the parent that sources tests and exams, figures out which task needs to be completed. So
sorry to stop you there, Kerry. I just want to ask you a question on that. Like you say, like the Google curriculum, how would a parent then do a report for their child?
Well, for according to the home education policy, at the end of every phase, so phase 3, phase 1, which is the foundation phase, so grade 3, the end of intermediate phase is grade 6, and the end of the senior phase, which is grade 9, you have to get a tutor to sit with all the learners' work, and then they would provide you with the report. Now, not everybody has access to finding that tutor because they need a competent assessor, so they call it.
Because I think that's quite important for a lot of our parents to remember, especially like you say, like the Google, and try to do it myself, that they forget that that child still needs a report at the end of each phase.
Yes. So,
and I don't think they realize that until it's a little bit too late.
Yes, then they all of a sudden got to rush together, have everything together, then find a competent assessor, and then that person has to sit through a whole year's work, which takes the time. And not everybody is competent in all the subjects, you know, especially like grade 7, 8, and 9. There's 9 subjects, and there isn't always a teacher that can see to all 9 subjects, because a lot of the teachers just specialize in 2, 3, or 5 subjects, but not always all. So you've got to bear that in mind, that you've got to find an assessor to assess those learners. And that's why it's always generally safer to go the box curriculum route, because we formally assess the learners anyway with our tests and exams and so on. So it's up to you. You've just got to make sure you read your homework, make sure you do your research, and make sure you have everything in place before you get started. So definitely download the Home Education Policy and the SA Schools Act, so that you've got all your ducks in a row, so they say in English.
And then like record of attendance, that it basically, guys, is, as we would know, maybe as students when we were at school, our teacher has that lovely book that says that you've attended class or you've missed 15 days in a month. So a record of attendance is really also important. That is what the Department of Education also wants, is a record of attendance, which is a register. So I don't know if you want to touch a little bit on that.
Basically, if you can remember when you were in school, every morning, 10 minutes before the class started, you did registration. It's exactly the same. You know, you sit there, yes, ma'am, I'm here. Joseph, yes, ma'am, I'm here, sort of thing. You're doing the same thing just now, obviously, at your home. So if you register with, yes?
No, I was just going to say, because that is hard proof to say that your child is attending school at home. So if the department asks you for that proof, you need to make sure you tick it off from the day they start until end of school year. Yes, so it's not like suck things off my thumb and yes, my kid did attend, but meantime there were issues in between.
Yes, so you can either create your own one if you're doing a Google curriculum, or which is rather straightforward to do, but if you're not computer savvy, then it might be difficult. But like with OptimumSA, we provide the attendance register in the file. And we've got the different abbreviations for family responsibility, and if the family had a crisis and the learner was off for 4 days, then you can put there FR, and or sick, you just put an S, you know, or if they attended school that day, then you just put a little tick or a cross. So we've got all that in place already with our product.
And then another list will provide proof of child's schoolwork in their portfolio and and they have to keep their portfolio for 3 years. So basically like from grade 1 to grade 3, and then 4 to 6, and then 6 to 9.
Yes, but you'd have to keep the like grade 3 file till the end of grade 5, for example, end of grade 3, end of grade 6. So whatever grade it is, it needs to be kept for 3 years. So you know, it's got to be proof of what the learner completed throughout the year. And it's literally just proof that the learner did complete the relevant items for that particular grade. It's the portfolio of evidence. It's a learner's portfolio.
And then do you have any advice for our parents? Because I know a lot of parents, like if we, for example, at all our schools, our kids like have to make their volcanoes or skeletons of a human body or something like that.
Yes.
What is the best way for a parent that does home education to put it in storage without getting misplaced?
The best,
or not feeling like a hoarder?
What yes, 12 years is a lot of work to keep, basically, you know.
But very important.
Yes, so what we do is, because we have a lot of clients that is spread out throughout the country, a lot of our learners, for example, the grade 5s in term 1 have to do a skeleton of a fish or a bird, okay? And they can't send it to us because it might get smushed in the courier. So what we've done is we've told parents to take photographs of the learner creating the project and then the final end result. And the parents just put that on a nice page. You don't need to go and put one photo, full A4 page, unless you don't mind paying for ink. It's okay. But you can literally just put all 4 photos of all the tools that the learner used, all the materials the learner used, then a photo of the learners doing the project, and then the actual final product of it. And you just put all 4 photos in sequence on an A4 page, you print it and put it in the portfolio of evidence file. So there's your proof of it being complete. So whether mommy did it or helped, we will never know. So but hopefully not, but as long as there's photographic proof and you can put it in the portfolio file, then that is 100%.
And also reports up to date records of the child's progress.
Yes.
How would one go about this? Because it's a requirement that's also requested.
Basically it would be the reports throughout the year. And there can also be written reports of exactly what the learner's strengths are and what the learner's weaknesses are. Obviously, a box curriculum cannot do that because we do not work with the learner one-on-one. So if you're going to do the box curriculum, then they provide a term 1, term 2, term 3, and term 4 report, providing that the work has been submitted in those terms to be able to provide a report. All right. If you are a parent that's doing the box curriculum, then you've got to keep all the content, okay, and then obviously get formally assessed at the end of each phase, for then to, with that assessor that you have chosen to do, and then they will put together some sort of report for the parent.
So then with educational support, for example, if a child needs extra lessons and they come to Olal Schools, is that also how would a parent put that in for support given for the child's schoolwork?
Well, that you see that obviously there is someone that signs or a tutor that
Because like at Olal, like for example, at Olal Schools, when they come in, they sign and stuff like that. Then we can print that out and give it to our parents, and they can attach it to their portfolio.
yes, that's 100% perfectly fine.
Okay. And then evidence of assessments and or examination at the end of each year.
Yes.
How would we advise our parents to go about doing this?
Well, the evidence is meaning the actual completed script that was done. So the parents need to keep the actual question paper and then the learner's answers together and put it into the file, the portfolio of evidence file. Okay. If you're going to go the Google curriculum route, then you got to get very Google savvy and try and see where you can download papers from wherever.
But then if you go the Google route, won't the exams have to be basically the same what the CAP students are writing?
Yes, so if you're going to look for any sort of papers, you'd need to look for Department of Education papers, or there's some schools that offer the papers on their website for revision purposes. You can use those too, because they all follow the CAPS curriculum. So the only downside to that is, yes, everybody covers the CAPS, content, but there's no way of telling when what was covered. So it's not necessarily all the books cover photosynthesis in term 1, and then in term 2 they cover something else. You've got to, at the end of the year, it's fine because you've all covered the exact same content. But if you've gone and found a term 1 test that you want your child to do, there's a good chance that there could be some stuff in that test that doesn't necessarily match up with the type of book that you used. So, because you don't exactly know which books they set that question paper on all the time.
So basically going like a Google way is putting a child in a haystack with a needle, not knowing what to expect from the lucky packets.
Yes, pretty much. Whereas if you choose an actual curriculum provider, I know I can't speak for all the other curriculum providers out there, but for OptimumSA, when our teachers set the papers, they are literally given that grade's books to set the papers exactly on those books. So the technology is exactly the same. They use questions from the revision activities, they use questions from the workbooks, they use questions from normal activities in the books. So it's a slightly safer route.
Safer, easy. I would not just safer, but easier route, not just for the parent, but for the child, is less stressful.
Yes, because
then you definitely know that you're meeting the requirements that is requested.
Yes, and you're seeing terminology that you have, the learner has learned, and then also for a lot of learners out there, they all have a mental block when it comes to tests and exams, or they go on a slight fritz or they fuse out. So when they're busy working, we're trying to encourage the learners to complete the work thoroughly. So our examiners use exact questions, and maybe just will change one or two few things here and there, but the question is recognizable for the learner to say, I remember that question in that activity 7.1. So then already they can then answer the question to the fullest, because they're like, I don't have a cooking clue what they're talking about because they're already on a fritz. So we're trying to build up our clients' confidence with their tests and exams so that they don't go in a complete freeze zone. So it does help to get a curriculum provider that's got tests and exams already set, especially the end of year papers.
So to our lovely parents and guardians out there and even some of our children that are listening. Okay, so we're going to go through this quickly. Register with the Departments of Education is very important. And if you follow the steps, you won't get lost, you won't get confused. And while you're doing that, choose a curriculum provider, because the curriculum provider or choose a curriculum all links while you are registering with the Departments of Education. And while you're registering with the Departments of Education, you can email them and you can fill the form in online.
Yes.
Download, upload, and send. Very easy. And then you've got the proof that it cannot get lost. And once they've registered and you've got those two covered, then you're good to go. As soon as you have sent that email off and you have received your books and stuff from OptimumSA or whichever curriculum provider you choose. And if you need a tutoring center, Olal Schools is there to help. You'll have to put that down on the form as well. Then another thing we need to do is keep your record of attendance, which is a register. You provide the proof that your child has done the schoolwork that is necessary in a portfolio that you have to keep for 3 years. Reports of your child's progress, excuse me, of educational support that was given to your child. So if they've needed extra lessons or certain things that had to be done, you can put that in your file as well, and then keep the evidence of your assessments and exams, whatever's provided at the end of each year, and you keep your portfolio up to date. So when the Departments of Education knocks on your door, you have everything to show them, and you don't have to run around. So now we are going to go into something that is what goes into our portfolios, which we just need to just touch base down on as well. So record of attendance, we've just spoken about that.
Yes.
Your presidents and the education department want to know that every child of school-going age is being educated. It is highly, really important that that is one of the big things that has to be done, because if it's not, they're going to start asking you questions. Why, when, and how come?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, Kerry.
No. You're not. You have to give valid reasons why you want to do home education. And if you download the home education policy, they give some suggestions there. We remember 2 weeks ago on the forms that we downloaded, it gave examples of ones that
I think there are about 20 of them that's
well, not so
that
much
you could choose from.
but yeah, you know, so you kind of spoiled for choice. It's very important to have all your ducks in a row, because it's the child's right to get an education, okay? And it's the parents' right to choose how to educate their child. So if everybody just follows the rules and regulations, then there shouldn't be any hiccups. So it's very important to make sure you've done your research.
And then can we explain to our parents a little bit about a year planner? I know we get people that aren't really much of planners, but it kind of gives you a direction of like, for example, like term 1, 2, 3, and 4, when tests, tasks, and things like that are supposed to be submitted. And so if you can just touch base on that a little bit for me.
Yes, well, the parents can do one of two things. If they register with OptimumSA, for example, we provide an academic calendar, which may be followed, all right? And on that calendar, it's got the breakdown of how many weeks in that term. It's got a breakdown of how many days the tests and exams will be over, and when the holidays are, if there is such a thing, and you know, when the year ends. When you're doing home education, it feels like the whole year's school. So, and then you've also got another part of the year planner, which is your third bullet on your PowerPoint little display, which is the weekly schedule. So that weekly schedule basically breaks up the learner's work for every subject for every week of the term. So you can either download the Department of Education academic calendar. There are two different ones. There's the Gauteng and Free State one, which, like, those learners close school tomorrow. And then you've got the KZN academic calendar, which is also the Western Cape as well. So all the coastlines, where their school term for term one only ends next week on the 25th. So you got to have your academic calendar so you can see how many weeks to break up the work for. And then you need your weekly schedule to break up the learners' work together.
And then you know what I like about a weekly schedule as well is that it becomes normal to your child. It adds routine into not just school, but into your day-to-day lives.
Yes.
It builds them into a routine, and they don't get thrown off balance and like unsure about stuff. If they start school at 8 and finish at 2:30, and if they're not finished by 2:30, then it's homework.
Yes,
it just gels nicely. Yeah, so the two they work hand in hand together.
Yes,
the year planner, I just find that it also helps a lot. So you've got, for example, four weeks, and then you've got a test, and then you've got another 4 weeks, and then you've got your exams, and then in between you've got an oral, and then 2 weeks from that you have an assessment or a project that you have to hand in. It just shows you how much time you have to play with between first term and fourth term. Not saying that you have to follow that as your weekly planner, but once you have your year planner up, okay, right, now we can sit and work out our weekly schedule. This is how we can do this to meet all requirements.
Yes, yeah, basically it's providing a, I had the word in my head just now when you were talking, and it's kind of left my brain. So I don't know, but I can't remember what it is. But yes, the weekly schedule.
Happy Wednesday, Kerry.
The weekly schedule, the learner, the year planner, and the timetable, all three work together. Oh, now I remember it. You see, a child, a learner, an adult, everybody needs structure, and it just provides some sort of structure that the learner needs to follow. So if life does happen and mommy can't watch over the learner for the next week, there's nothing stopping the child from still continuing with the work, because they already have the schedule, they already have the year planner, they've already got the timetable. So they can literally carry on their merry way until mom can pick up where she left off, you see. So it's very important. It's the same at our study centers. They need to have some sort of structure in place so that if you get a late registration learner, the learner can literally work through the term 1 holidays and the term 2 holidays. They don't have to lose that time because mom and dad registered late or whatever, you see. So it's because they have that structure and that schedule and that planner in place, so you can work from home.
So all these things have to be in the portfolio. That's including program of assessments. So how or where would our parents go about doing this?
What do you mean exactly?
What I mean is like their assessments and stuff like that. That if they go with OptimumSA, they go off to you, they get marks, and then you send them back to our parents, and then they put it in their portfolio. correct?
Yes, that's correct. Basically, our portfolio of evidence is divided into the number of subjects for that particular grade. So for grade 4 to 6, for example, there'll be 6 tabs with the 6 subjects inside it. So all the English formal assessments you would put inside the English section, and so on for the other subjects. The more organized and put together the file is, the better it is if someone comes knocking on your door and they want to see it. Whereas where you got to try and figure out, we also provide cover pages, templates that the parents must photocopy so that they can get the child. Children don't like to label stuff. They hate it. They just start. They don't say what subject it is and what learner book page. So when we get the work and we've got to try and make heads or tails, luckily maths is easy to recognize in Afrikaans and English, but sometimes social sciences and natural sciences, oh golly, you've got to try and figure out what's what. And, you know, then there's handwriting that you can't read, so then that takes longer. So we provide the cover pages so that learners can get into labeling their stuff, because it's a requirement, especially for grades 10, 11, and 12. So parents make photocopies of it. This is the essay, they put it, attach the cover page. So when they get it back, they know exactly what it is as well, and they put it in their file.
And then also that's what goes into your portfolio file is evidence of your child or your learner's work. So
Yes.
whatever they've covered throughout first term, second term, third term, fourth term is all important, but not just put it away in the cupboard. It needs to go into the portfolio and you keep it. We've spoken about that. Record of progress. We've covered that as well.
Yeah, that would be the
recording
report.
marks. Now, and then, like you said, if they do choose a curriculum provider like OptimumSA, the marks and stuff like that and the reports, they pop into the portfolio and keep it as well.
Yes, they basically can print the report, which gets emailed to the parents, and put that in the file. Whether they put it right in the front or in a plastic sleeve at the back is their business. I know for grade 4 to 6, there's extra tabs, which they can put the reports behind too. But it's just best to keep everything in record. And that's also why we email the reports. We don't print and send them, because you can always refer back to your emails, because they're always
you
there.
Can always pull, like we said in our last webinars from 21, anything that goes on the internet, you can always pull down.
Yes. So those reports, the parents, it's ideal that they put it with the portfolio of evidence file, just because everything is there for the learner's academic year anyway. So you may as well put the reports.
Yeah, and that just ties up everything. Like with your portfolio, just that reports makes a child feel so proud that they've achieved and they've thrived through the year, and they've got that piece of paper saying, congratulations, you are moving to, for example, grade 2 or grade 3. When they see that with a little star or sticker on, it just motivates them. It's nice. And then you put it in their portfolio, and then they can always go back and be like, oh, I got 72 last year. And then next year they could say, oh, look, okay, I've got 80. And then, you know, they can just keep comparing it, because as doing home education or online education, you study at your own pace. There is no race to it.
Yes.
So that's a bonus point. And just to put yourself and your mind in that little zone to be like, okay, I can do better than that. And you've got that report on you the whole time.
No, definitely. A child that's why it's called a progress report, because you're seeing the child's progress. Okay,
well, that's about it that we have come to with what the Department of Education requires from us. You can find out more on the website www.education.gov.za. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to get hold of Kerry at OptimumSA or myself or one of our colleagues at olalschools.com, and we'll gladly be able to assist you.
Yes.
Any questions or comments, pop them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Have a wonderful Wednesday further and a lovely weekend. Thank you so much, Kerry, for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having us. And take care.
I'll see you next week, same time.
Yes, 100%. Providing there's no load shedding.
Right. Tabs on that. No, thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everybody. Have a lovely week.
You too.